once again, thank you for joining our PureCloud user training on calls and interactions. My name is Tom Lyons. I'm a senior engineer over here with Inflow Communications, and I will be taking you through this training today. I have over 6 years of unified communications experience, including not only the Genesys PureCloud platform, but also experience in RingCentral as well as Mitel and ShoreTel. And I will be taking you through our training today, which is going to be focused on calls and interactions in the PureCloud system. A little bit about what's coming down the pipe for Inflow as well, some webinars that we are going to be showing in the near future if you are interested in those. On the 12th, we will have a webinar on the Mitel and ShoreTel system, and administrator training on call flow best practices. So this will be stuff that you can do to make sure that the call flow in your system is efficient and organized, best practices on how to set up hunt groups, work groups, auto attendance, tie them all together. On the 19th, we'll have an overview of the Hybrid Connect system, which is a hybrid system combining elements of the on-premise Mitel Connect platform as well as the Mitel Connect Cloud platform. So that's a good one to look at if you're looking at a hybrid environment. And on the 24th of March, sorry for the typo there on the screen there, we will be having a webinar on broadening your customer engagement strategy. So that'll be a good one to take a look at to see what you can do to maximize your involvement and interactions with your customers. A little bit about Inflow Communications before we get started here. Inflow does have a sole focus on unified communications and contact center solutions. Voice is what we do. So we don't branch into networking or sell any other equipment of that nature. Our engineers are well versed in voice, and voice is what they know. So as a result, when you call in or submit a ticket to us, you're going to be engaged with an engineer that's fluent in the technologies that you're working with from the voice perspective, and we will be able to get you the information that you require. We are a Mitel Platinum partner, as well as partnered with RingCentral and Genesys PureCloud. And we have offices and employees in 10 states and support over 180,000 endpoints and over 800 customers nationwide and in many cases worldwide. And we're maniacal about the customer experience. We want to make sure we get you all the information that we can, and then some, to make sure that you have everything you require in order to make your voice environment as efficient as possible. Here's a snippet of a few of the customers that we support. And as always, if you have any questions, there's a little questions box in your GoToWebinar application. You can submit those questions there. And at the end of our webinar, which should be probably about 10 to 15 minutes today, I will be able to answer those questions. If anything comes up that I'm unable to answer, then we will make sure that we get that over to you in an email as well. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and get started here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull over my interface. So this interface is going to look very, very similar to what you are going to see when you initially log into PureCloud. You'll note that I am in the web browser application. If you're using the desktop application, there is a standalone client that you can use for this as well. Don't worry, everything that we're going through today does actually pertain to that as well. So you will be able to see all of that information. So going through here, we are actually going to focus on two things today, which is going to be phone calls and then interactions, which are still phone calls, but those are going to be phone calls that come in through a queue system or that you make on behalf of a queue, which provides advanced metric functionality for your supervisors and allows you to have a few other things like wrap up and codes that you can assign to different calls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and on the left side here, I'm going to click on this phone here, which is for calls. When I do, it's going to pop up a pane that'll have a calls button with a little plus that you'll see here to start a new call. And then on the right side, you have a whole bunch of different options that you can look at. So the first thing that we're going to do, we'll go through these options as well, but I'm going to actually place a call here to show you what it looks like and what we can do to manipulate the calls. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus. You'll notice I have an option for a new phone call or a new fax. We are going to focus on calls today. You can actually fax using the PureCloud client if the faxing is set up in your system, but we are going to focus on the phone calls today. I'm going to go ahead and click on new phone call, and when I do, you'll note that it comes up with an enter name or number. It also comes up with a dial pad on the right side. I can use the dial pad to type in numbers, or I can simply type in a number or a name to get started here. And if I type in Tom, you'll notice that it pops me up. It even shows that I'm in a meeting. And then there's a whole bunch of different Toms that are in our system that I could actually pull up to place phone calls directly to. If I type in Tom test, you'll note that there's one in here specifically for my cell phone here that allows me to make test calls. And when I click on it, you'll notice that the number is now in this box, and it just has the name and a work number here. If I now hit green, or the phone button, which is green, I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to start the call. And it'll be just a second here because I want to get this answered and then muted. So do that. There we go. And so now we are on the phone. And so you'll see here, we have a number of different options. We have the phone number that we're talking to, as well as the name, if there's any name associated. We also have a current talk time, and then a few different options at the bottom. Going through these quickly, the microphone button here is your mute button that will mute your microphone. When I click this, you'll notice that it highlights orange, and it has a little cross through the microphone letting you know that the microphone is currently muted. This will then it'll change back to the original when you click on it again when you take yourself off mute, and it will look like this. There is no indicator other than that button that you are muted, so there's no indicator that you're muted here. It is not a hold, it just mutes your microphone. I'm going to keep that muted so you don't get any reverb from my phone as I go through the other options here. Next to it, you do have a hold button, which is going to be the pause button here. When I do this, this is going to play any hold messaging that's in your system while you are on hold, and the customer will be able to hear that. So when I click on this, you'll note that it now changes to a pause symbol. It doesn't change the timer. So if you're used to another phone system like Mitel, you don't get a different timer for this. It just shows that you are on hold here. When I go ahead and take this off hold, you'll notice that it returns to normal, and now I am back on the phone with whoever I'm speaking with. If I'm talking to something that requires me to input options, like as a good example, if we're calling an ISP and the ISP needs to have numbered options on their auto attempt menu to get me where I need to go, I can click on the dial pad and I can select my DTMF options here. So for example, if I wanted to press 1 for support, I would just click 1 for support. And that would go ahead and send that through and allow me to move through the menu. So you can do that at a pinch as well. And then the real fun options here, the ones that you will probably use the most, are add participant and transfer. Add participant is going to add a user for a conference call. So if I click on add participant, you'll notice it'll pop up another little dial pad, just like when we started the call previously. That'll allow me to type in a name or a number, or I can actually use the dial pad to type in the number as well. So if I started typing Bert, for example, if Bert were available, I could actually add Bert to the call, which I could do by clicking here. You notice that his name is now in one of those gray boxes, just like it was when we started the call. And if I hit the phone button down at the bottom, it would then attempt to add him to the call. So it would add him to the call with the user that we're on with. It would start ringing, and if Bert picked up the phone, he would then be on the call. Transfer works pretty much the same way. You'll notice though that there's a name or a queue that you can transfer to, and you can transfer to an external number as well. It just doesn't actually say that here. So if I typed in 555-1212 and I hit enter, I can actually transfer to a phone number here, so you definitely can. But if I wanted to just transfer to a user, so example, if I typed in Bert, you'll notice that it comes up one under users, which is an internal user. We have a number of external contacts as well, but if I clicked on this and I clicked on Bert, you'll notice that I have a couple of different options. I have an option to blind transfer, which is going to just immediately transfer the call over to Bert without any warning, or a consult transfer, which is going to place my call on hold, call Bert, and then I can talk with Bert and make sure that he's available to take the call. And if he is, I can then complete the transfer. Otherwise, I can go back to the call that I was on. So you do have those options here as well. Go ahead and cancel out of that. Finally, and this one is good if you are having any issues in PureCloud, specifically if you're having any garbled audio or any sort of audio quality problems on calls, you can actually flag the call you're on for a voice quality issue. So if I click on that here, you'll notice that the flag changes to red. What this does is it allows your administrators and us as well, if we are helping with any sort of call quality issue, to look through the system and very easily identify calls that have problems. And at that point, we can actually grab the information that we need so that we can work with Genesys on any potential issues there. So if you're having call quality issues, this is definitely a good button to use, and then you can let your supervisors know that you flagged your call. And then finally, you have a hang up button, which is the phone facing down. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on that now. When I do, you'll just notice that we have left the call is disconnected, and that is it for that call. And after a few seconds, that icon will go away, and you'll notice that there's a new call in my call history. That's the one with the yellow U disconnected in there. And it notes that the call was made at 10:06. It was for 5 minutes. So you can see all of that information here. This pane is actually your call history. It will show your most recent calls when you first jump into here. You can click on this More History button and look at more information as it is available. I haven't made a ton of calls directly from my phone in my client here, but you'll see that I can see calls as far back as the 24th of February. So there is some more there. And if I click on it, more and more will appear from my call history here. So you can see all of your call history in this log. The other buttons that are here, so that's the one here with the phone and the lines is the call history. You've got your dial pad, which is going to do the exact same thing that you could do by hitting the calls button here. That's actually what happens, is it actually brings you to that dial pad box. So that's going to have the exact same functions as that. You have an inbox, which is going to be able to show you your voicemails, faxes. If you have access to your own recordings, you can listen to them here. And if your organization is doing things like evaluations or accepting time off requests through PureCloud, which can be done through its workforce management application, you can see those here as well. So to take you through here, because what I have is a voicemail, you'll notice that I do have one in here. This one has been read, which I can tell because it is in gray text. If I click on the ellipsis here, I can mark it as on read, and this will be what it will look like if you have a new voicemail in PureCloud. It'll be highlighted in orange. I can call this person by clicking on the phone. I can listen to the message by hitting the play button, and then I can also download the message or forward the message as well. If I click on forward, it'll ask me to type a name for somebody in the organization, so it does have to be somebody internal. But if I wanted to send, again, this voicemail to Bert, I could find Bert in here. I could click on Bert, and I just transferred the voicemail to Bert Harris. So he does have that voicemail now. If I wanted to download it, I can just click on this button here. And when I do, it's going to actually pop up a little window for me to save the file. And now I have a WAV file of the same voicemail. Other things you can do as well, down below here, you'll notice that there is a little note that says over a year ago, but it has an edit box. If I click on that edit box, it'll pop open a little spot that I can type in a note. And so if I wanted to just type in, this is a call note, and hit save, I can do that here. So if you needed to put a note in like a voicemail, so you know what is what, you can do that here very easily. You also have your phone details. All this is going to tell you is the phone that you are selected in PureCloud for use for making and receiving calls. If for some reason you can't make a call, or PureCloud is telling you you don't have a phone assigned, this is a good one to look at, because this will tell you if you actually do have a phone assigned to you. If I click on the drop down, you'll notice that I can select a phone. I can deselect a phone, which would actually turn off my phone in PureCloud. And I can also look at my settings for the device, which we're actually going to look at in just a moment here. But this is a pretty simplistic menu. Send fax, really simple. You enter a number. So the number of the fax machine that you need to send this to. You can include a cover sheet and a cover page if you want, so just a preface of what the fax is about. And then you can attach any sort of document that's in a PDF, doc, docx, or TIFF file format to the fax, which will then get sent through to the fax number that you were sending to. So this is a nice, easy way to send faxes from within the PureCloud system. And then finally, we have our settings. The settings, again, are very simplistic because the application is just basically using your headset settings to control the calls using WebRTC. So in here, you have an audio controls menu. You'll notice that I have a custom one set up. If I click on the dropdown, you'll notice there's quite a few. There may be, depending on how many different sound options you have on your PC, because it can be set up to use different pieces. And if I click on the edit profile, it's going to allow me to change my microphone, so which microphone I'm using, which headset I'm using, which is going to be a little speaker, and then the little bell is notification, so that's the incoming ringer. And so if I click on the microphone, for example, you'll notice that I can click the system default, so the default application for sound in Windows. I can use the default communications device if I want, or I can actually pick a specific device, which in this case I only have one, which is that headset down below. If you have multiple things, such as maybe a webcam that can do audio, this is something that you would want to make sure is selected correctly. And it's the same here for the headset earphones. So you'll notice there's quite a few more because a number of my monitors can output sound. I also do have speakers, and then I do have the headset in question. So again, you want to make sure that this is set up the way that it should be for your headset. And then finally, for the notification, you'll notice that I have this set to speakers. In my use case, this makes sense because we work from home. And so as a part of this, it's nice to be able to hear my notifications no matter where I am in the house, so I can make sure I get calls. So in my case, what happens here as a result of these settings is when I get an incoming call, it rings through my speakers, letting me know that I have a call waiting for me. And then when I pick it up, all of the sound goes through my headset. This may or may not be something you can do in your environment. Might be something that would be beneficial to you. Otherwise, you just want to make sure that if you do need it to go through your headset, that your headset is selected here. And that is the basis for the audio controls. You also do have the ability to change your device volumes. So clicking on this guy here is going to bring up a little device profile. And you'll notice here that there's a few different things that we can change. You can change the call volume, so while you're in the middle of the call, the phone ringer volume, chat notifications if you're using chat within PureCloud, and then also interaction notification volume, because interactions are a little bit different. We're going to be going over those here momentarily. They have many of the same options, but there's a few extra options that you can use. There is also advanced mic settings for mic gain, echo cancellation, and noise suppression. By default, those are going to be on, and I would recommend not changing those settings because they are typically going to help you with your audio quality. All right, and so that's the phone and the calls feature. What we're going to do now is we're also going to look at interactions really quick. These are a little bit different from just the standard calls. And by getting there, I'm going to go ahead and click on interactions down at the bottom. And you'll notice here, it looks somewhat the same. There aren't any buttons on the right side this time that I can just go to, but you'll notice there's a plus for start a new interaction. And right below it, it says go on queue to begin accepting new interactions. So if you work in a queue and you are supposed to be taking incoming calls, that is just telling you to go ahead and click to be on queue in order to take those incoming calls. However, you can still make outbound calls on behalf of a queue and start an interaction that way, even without being on queue. To point out where you can go on queue here, you can click this button. This will do it. There's also a little slider up in the top right. You'll notice one that says off queue right where my mouse hand is. And clicking on that slider will also put you on queue for the queues that you operate. So these are the areas that you would do to actually take those inbound calls. But to show you in interaction, I'm actually going to make an outbound call today. So I'm going to click on the plus to start an interaction. And it's going to pop up an option so I can either make a call, send an email if you're actually using email queues in PureCloud, or send a chat message, so you can do all of those here. We are going to focus on the make calls piece today. And in here, you have to put in your queue, and then you put in the number or contact. So in this case, I'm going to make a call from support. And I'm going to go ahead and call the same number that I called before, that Tom test. And so you'll see it looks very much the same. This field works exactly the same as well. If I wanted to punch in a number, I can do so as well. It doesn't have to be a contact that's saved in your org. And when I go ahead and I click on the phone button, it's going to start a call, which I'm going to, again, make sure that I answer here. There we go. And so you'll notice that we are on the phone now. There's a few different options that are showing up on the right side now. To go through some of the information here, we have some interaction details. We can see that the interaction type is a call. The interaction state is connected. It's through the support queue, and we can see the phone number that we're talking to here at the bottom. And then in the profile field, if you are set up with integration with any sort of database, ours is integrated with our Salesforce, I can see that there is a email associated with the phone number. I can actually view the contact in my Salesforce as I want, if I want, as well as the organization that the person actually resides with. This is nice to have so that you can very quickly, like in our case, we use this to very quickly open tickets on our side as we talk to people. So you can see all this information here. If this was a number that was not in the database, it would not show any information, which would give you an indicator that something may need to be built. And then going through the buttons that we have here, we have basically the exact same options that we had from the calls pane. So just to show them real quickly here, we have our dial pad. So if we needed to make any DTMF options, like go through and press 1 for support, we can do that here. I can mute my microphone by pressing this button. You'll notice it highlights orange. There's also a orange microphone indicator next to the call here. If I click it again, that will go away. I can place the call on hold. When I place the call on hold with an interaction, you'll notice there's a slight difference. You'll notice that there's a total talk time. So I've been on the phone for about 1 minute and 40 seconds, but right below it, we have a hold time of 10 seconds that is counting. So you can actually see who's been on, how long this call has been on hold. When I take it off hold, that will go away and show connected. If I do place them back on hold, you'll notice that the hold timer does reset. So it is not cumulative hold, but it will show you how long that current hold has been. We have a blind transfer option, just like before. If I click on blind transfer, I can enter a name, number, or even a queue. So if I wanted to transfer them into a billing queue, for example, I could do that here. And it works the exact same way as it did on calls. So if I typed in Brad, and we see we have got a Brad testing here, I could actually send the call that way, and that would work. If I want to type in 503-555-1212, I could transfer that way as well. Consult transfer is going to place the call on hold and allow me to then talk to somebody else, see if they can take the call and then transfer it. You'll notice there is even a little warning here, attention, beginning consultation will place the interaction on hold. Works exactly the same way as the blind transfer. And the only difference is instead of immediately transferring the call, you're going to talk to the person first and then transfer the call if they're available. And then finally, we have the end call button, which is what we're going to do now. So you can see some of the other options that we have here. So once we actually hang up the call, you'll notice that I'm actually in an after call work setup. This amount of time will be dependent on the organization settings set up when your PureCloud instance was put together. Ours is set to 1 minute so that we can set up our notes. And you'll notice that there are a few different wrap-up codes that we have as well. So this is something that you can use to help organize and tag your calls so that your supervisors can see what's going on and determine if there's a bunch of calls that should be hitting queue that are, if there's anything that needs to be tagged in a different way, and things of that nature. So in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and tag this one as a support call. So you'll see a wrap-up code is set at the bottom, and then I can either wait for my timer to expire, or in my case, because of the way we're set up, I can actually hit done. And when I hit done, that interaction is now finished. And at that point, you'll notice that there's no active interactions because this will only show your active pane. And I can start another new interaction as needed. And so with that, that is our training for today. We were just focusing on the calls and interactions here. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the question box that we have in the GoToWebinar application. I'll be watching that for a moment here to see if we do have any come through. Is this recorded so we can review it later? The answer is yes. We will actually have this recording available for you on our YouTube channel. If you search for Inflow Communications on YouTube, you'll be able to find this as well as several other recordings. So you will be able to definitely get this at a later date. It will probably take a couple days to process and be put up there, but it should not be very long. Any other questions? All right, looks like we are good. If you guys do have any other questions that come up later, here's our current customer resources. For anything non-urgent that you just want some information on and it's not a pressing time frame, you can send us an email at support@inflowcommunications.com. Those emails are answered in the order they are received. It should not take very long for us to get you the information that you require. Just be aware of that in case you are experiencing anything urgent. You can also use our support portal at support.inflowcommunications.com. That is going to allow you to see all of your tickets that you have with us, the current status of the tickets, as well as reply to them all from one spot. So it's super nice and easy to navigate and use. If you are the system administrator for your organization, we can also set it up so you can see all the tickets your organization has set up. So it can be a very nice, easy way to keep track of all of that. If you're interested in this and you are not currently using it, you'll want to send us an email or give us a call so that we can set it up for you, because there is some first-time users set up on our side that we need to do. And then finally, for anything urgent, or you just want to get on the phone with somebody, you can give us a call at 855-946-3569 or 855-9-INFLOW. We do have a 3-ring answer policy here, so you will not be on hold for 10 to 15 minutes waiting for somebody to get through and get you on the phone. And when we do get you on the phone, you will be connected directly with an engineer who will have experience with your platform, so we will be able to assist you immediately. And then finally, if you want any information on Inflow support packages, you can email us at sales@inflowcommunications.com, or you can give us a call at 844-446-3569. And with that, again, my name's Tom, Senior Engineer with Inflow. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today for the PureCloud user training. We do hope to see you again in the near future. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day.